Hey, what's up? It's another episode of Watch U Strappin. These are not watch reviews, they're just quick wristwatch check of the day. Whenever I got a chance just to show a watch with a particular strap pairing, usually something aftermarket, if I haven't already shown it on its stock OEM bracelet or strap option in at the beginning. So today I am back on, or maybe still on, the Vertex M100A. I think last time I showed this on the rubber strap, FKM by Strap Habit. Works very well with that one. Pretty cool green with that. This I just wanted to put it back on a NATO-style strap, and this one is from Cheapest NATO straps, or CNS Watch Bands, as I think they had some issues being able to use the word NATO in their brand name. Whoever owns NATO gets kind of a bit pissy about people using that, even though it's hard to describe these straps as other than NATO, so I will say NATO-style. All right. Anyways, this is a khaki color on their ribbed NATO. I think they're pretty nice quality. I've not tried any other ribbed NATOs from any other brands, but I figure for the price that you can get these and the range of colors, and my experience with these straps in general have been pretty positive. They seem fairly well made. They don't really fray or anything. They hold together pretty well. At first they might seem a bit stiff or harsh or abrasive in a way, just the way the texture is. It's a little, I don't know how else to describe it, but once you wear it, it doesn't actually feel that bad at all on wrist, and you just keep wearing it. It kind of breaks in a bit more also, and yeah, it's perfectly fine. It holds its structure well, and yeah, I just like the colors that they offer. The price is pretty good. I think usually these can be had for around $10 or so, more or less, a couple bucks, but usually if you buy 5 or more straps from them, they start to give you can get start to get 20% off of the entire order. So yeah, it gets even less expensive. Yeah, and so yeah, totally worth it. Just I've been buying these, and kind of whenever they certain colors become available and certain sizes, 20 and 22 millimeter primarily, and I just stock them up. I kind of like these over the plain basic standard NATO fabric or build. These are just a step above, and they just look better with that interesting rib texture that kind of runs along the length of the strap. And I think this khaki color works particularly well with this Dirty Dozen military field watch styled watch. Yeah, no complaints. Just wanted to show this off. And yeah, yeah, this style, as soon as it gets some sunlight, it definitely will light up, and you can see even in the daytime it's still kind of glowing green. This is the loom on this is really good, obviously, because you can see those solid loom blocks or bricks that are cut out into those Arabic numerals. Yeah, they really do shine really good. Let me try to get a close-up on this if I can. And I don't think I've seen any other loom that's been applied and made in such a fashion to be quite as three-dimensional or as deep and or tall, however you want to describe it, as the ones that are on this Vertex. Anyways, looks good. This watch is running pretty well too. Pretty much right out of the box, it's been running about -1 second or less. And this is since I got this, I believe, back in, when did I get this? This was right around the time of wind up in San Francisco, which I believe was either at the end of April or end of May. I forget exactly. Somewhere, I think I want to say it was at the end of April, but I got this somewhere around there, around the end of April or around May, somewhere around there. And right now it is almost mid-August. That is 2023, And for the most part, it's been holding up, but it took an odd dip in performance yesterday, which is weird. Everything's been pretty consistent, about a -1 or better. And then all of a sudden, that one day, I went back to work on the Monday, and I was wearing it, and for the most part, it was holding up. But then by the end of the day, I was so busy I didn't have time to check. But by the time I got back at the end of the day, like late afternoon, early evening, it was showing about -4 seconds or so, which I haven't seen happen so fast. Because earlier in the morning, I took a read, check, and it was about, less than like -1 or something like that. It wasn't that far off, it was holding time really good. And then that was kind of weird. And then anyway, so I went through the next day without doing anything. I said, okay, maybe it was just a fluke. It'll just balance itself back out to its normal self somehow. But yeah, definitely by late, again, about 24 hours later, it had lost even more seconds. And by late evening of yesterday, maybe even to almost in the morning of this today, I was doing a time check, and I was thinking, what, the total time was about a minus, it was -4, and then by the time I checked last, it was about -13 or so, 13 or 14. So it basically lost about 10 to 10 seconds within a day, which is a lot considering this thing had been holding time super well all completely prior to that. I have no idea what happened. Is this a sudden settle in period? But yeah, I was gonna hold off, but I said, you know what, I can't have that. That's just way too far off. So I opened this up. It's just a screw down case back, and I have to say, well, I'll get into it, but yeah, I just regulate it with a small screwdriver with the little regulator screw pin or whatever that's in the back. On the time grapher, it was showing about -10 seconds or so in the most common positions that I would have my watch in, which would be like this or top side. It's actually pretty consistent all the way around. This watch is fairly well made, and at least the movement, and it's very stable and generally pretty well balanced. Had high amplitude, hovering around the 300s range, and beat error wasn't all that bad either, 0 or maybe 0.2. So really good overall. It's just somehow the daily deviation was, the rate was going down to drop to -10 basically. So I bumped it up to basically the readings were holding it between 0 and +2, maybe +3 in some instances, but basically around there. And that's it. Then I closed it back up, and so far all day it's been pretty much holding at about 0 deviation, which is great. This is where it should be, and I'm happy about that. I will say, opening up, and I should have taken some pictures while I was in it, but I was just more focused on just getting this thing regulated and back up to spec, or at least my specs, which is pretty high. Inside, around the movement, there's basically a double circle of gaskets. So this thing is 100 meters of water resistance, but it's definitely got it there. I imagine the crown is pretty well sealed, but the fact that the movement around it, there's like an outer gasket and then an inner one, that's pretty impressive. And the movement itself is pretty nicely decorated. It has a custom Vertex rotor and some perlage work, and some bit of decoration on the movement. Nothing super like high horology, but what you would expect for a nicely decorated ETA base or Sellita mechanical movement inside. But yeah, hopefully this will hold. I may put this on wrist, keep it on it for another day just to see, make sure it's where it should be, or at least yeah. And if it is, then I will finally get into my next watch rotation. But I don't know, we'll see. If by the end of tonight maybe it's still holding pretty consistently, like no deviation, then I will say I might feel comfortable enough to just let it be and just put this down for until the next time I pull it out, and find something for tomorrow instead. But I don't know. I love this watch. It's really good. I know people will bitch about the price of it, and I will admit it is expensive. And to be honest, I do find it to be about almost $1,000 overpriced, in my opinion. However, because I bought it and I still like it, I'm still holding on to it, I would still say it's worth it, even though it's expensive and overpriced. For me, people can't see past a certain amount of detail. They'll just look at this and say, well, it's just like another Dirty Dozen style, some sort of field watch. What's the big deal? It's just using a base, like an off-the-shelf movement, which it's really, it's done really well. Sure, but at least, service-wise, it just makes it that much easier. You don't have to spend, too much on like a special in-house movement, for one thing. And at the end of the day, it's, I think it's worth it. It's a particular execution of a Dirty Dozen style watch from an actual Dirty Dozen, manufacturer from World War II. It has that. It's actually really well built, and there's no other watch that I know of that's made quite like the way they do this. It's really nice. And there are other models like the Sea Lion, the Dive Watch, and even like their Pilot chronograph. It's a mono pusher. That one's pretty nice too. They all have a very similar design DNA, and really nice. I wouldn't mind getting some of those other ones too, but this was the main one that I had my heart set on when they first announced it. And it's quite a good field watch, and it really can double as a pilot watch too, if you think about it. A lot of field watches have shared design language, and it just works both ways, as a field watch as well as a pilot watch. And and I mean, the way these hands are polished too, they're really nicely polished. They always keep looking at it, and there's just no special beveling, but the way that they're really clean and have a really nice polish, and the fact that they even bother to cap the center part makes it, it's a nice touch that very few watchmakers I've seen do. Usually much more higher end luxury watches would do that. But the fact that they actually cap the middle, it's a small detail, but it's these things that all cumulatively really matter. And I think it works really nicely, and I don't think they did it on the small seconds. It's really hard to tell. In some ways it looks like they did, and I'd be shocked if they actually did. Let's see. Well, I don't know. I mean, it sure looks like there's maybe some sort of cap on there. It might actually be capped too, which wouldn't be too surprising. If it is, wow, they really put a lot of attention to detail on this thing. Anyways, I'm rambling on, as I do, but I just wanted to give this some extra attention today, to share some of the updates along with this wristwatch check or watch U Strappin episode, because I just like to throw in extra information. It's not just about the strap and watch combination. I got an idea or some feelings or thoughts about a particular watch that I'm featuring on an episode. I will share it, and that's the way it goes. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your watches. Whoa.